Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Pham, here to help you practice curiosity to elevate your work and life. I'm going to share with you the 7 forms of passiveness in the workplace and how to overcome them. Passiveness is defined as when you are not saying something, withholding information, perhaps to avoid conflict. Now, this can easily happen in the workplace, and it can escalate into even more conflict when we try to repress our feelings and what we want to say. So here's the first form, non-response. That's when someone asks you for something, emails you about something, and you just don't respond. For example, are you going to this meeting? I don't want to go to the meeting, so I just decide not to respond at all instead of saying no. Form number 2 is withholding your opinion. So this can happen when you don't want to be disagreeable or when you have a different perspective, and again, you're trying to avoid conflict. So, for example, someone in a meeting says, I don't agree with that, I like this instead, and even though you don't agree with them, you don't say anything at all. Form number 3 is deflection. Now, this is when you want to seem like you're agreeing and yet you really don't. And so what you do is you deflect. And an example of this is someone says, I think we should collaborate. And then you respond, I think your work is so important. So you're not saying no to them, but you're also not saying yes. Form number 4 is indecisiveness. So this is when you put off making a decision that you really need to make because you say, oh, well, I need to think about this some more, or we need to do some more research on this. Number 5 is misleading or even lying to someone because you don't want to say no. So going back to that example of someone saying, hey, let's collaborate, and then you say, yeah, we should collaborate, even though you have no intention of collaborating with them. Number 6 is talking behind someone's back. So this is a step above just withholding your opinion. Now you are actually actively telling other people how you don't agree with that person. So for example, you're very critical of someone and you complain to other people about how this person is not performing well, and yet you don't say anything to that person. Maybe even they ask you, how am I performing? And you say you're doing a good job, and yet you're telling other people they're not doing a good job. And form number 7 is ghosting. So this happens when you've been engaged in a communication and then you decide not to respond anymore and you decide to just drop the communication. So all of these are different forms of passiveness, and sometimes because of the situation you might decide, okay, well, I'm not gonna respond, or I just need to vent and tell someone else. Collectively over time it can create a lot of problems, and the way that you overcome this is by having some self-awareness. Is this creating a problem for you? So I've got a formula, and it's emotional time over action time. So emotional time stands for how much time you are spending thinking about this thing, resenting it, and then action time is how much time it would actually take you to do something. Let's go to that example of non-response. Someone asks, are you going to this meeting? And you don't want to go to this meeting. It would take you 1 minute to write back and say, no, I'm not going to the meeting. You don't even have to explain why. You just say, no, I'm not going to the meeting. And yet you spend 20 minutes thinking about how you don't want to go to this meeting. You might even tell other people how you don't want to go to this meeting. So if you divide emotional time by action time, that's a 20x factor. I generally think that if you go over 10x, that means that you're spending way too much time thinking about something that is easily solvable. So these are the 7 forms of passiveness in the workplace. We also have the 7 signs of passiveness in your own personal life, which you can find out more about on our YouTube channel and on our blog. I hope that you found this framework useful to identify when you yourself are being passive, because that's something that you can actually control. You can't really control how other people are being passive or not. If you did find this useful, please do click like and share this with other people. And for more detailed information, you can go to curiositybase.com.